The new Netflix Resident Evil show has gotten obliterated by everybody on the internet. Most critics hate it, audiences hate it, and I don't see any way that it will get renewed for another season. And even though there are very few people praising it, of course, hack journalists are desperate for companies to love them and give them early information, so a few specific outlets are praising the show, saying it's one of the best Resident Evil projects to ever release, and it's even the best show of the year. I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So of course, I've talked about all of the backlash to this Resident Evil series, and this is a comic book article that I just wanted to start off with because this is the truth. Netflix's Resident Evil is getting destroyed by audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, it has gone up a few percent over the past couple of days. It actually dropped down to a 21%, and it's at a 25% right now. I don't think that it's going to go above a 30, but I also don't think it's going to go below a 20. But right now it's sitting at a 25%, which is just awful. I mean, everybody is watching the show and dislikes it, and even the critic score is pretty bad. Now, a 50%, it's not the worst compared to a 25%. I mean, we see a lot of movies and shows sit at 50% by critics, but usually the audience score is much higher. It seems like usually the critics and audiences do not agree on a lot of movies, but in this case, both are agreeing it's pretty bad. But of course, there are just a few news outlets that want to be different and that wanted to praise this show, probably because they knew it would get people clicking on their articles, because they were mad at their headlines. But let's look at IGN. IGN decided to say Netflix's Resident Evil series is the strongest adaptation yet, which of course the lie detector determined that this is a lie. It says, Netflix's newly released Resident Evil series is an adaptation of Capcom's globally renowned video game series that gets a whole lot right now. I absolutely love Resident Evil. I've played many of the games here on the channel and live streams. I've played all of them in my off time. I love this franchise so freaking much, but this show provides nothing to me as someone who knows the source material. Now, most of this article is just a play-by-play of each episode and what they liked about each episode, so spoiler alert, I mean, I wouldn't recommend you watch it if you haven't watched it yet, but the ending part says Netflix's Resident Evil represents everything Resident Evil in fresh but attentively familiar ways. For all its alterations, Andrew Dabb's series is a union of what both video game and movie audiences know or don't about Resident Evil. Paul W.S. Anderson used title appeal to corner the action junkie market. Roberts lifts entire sequences like silly putty on newspaper, and Dabb sees the value in blending both approaches. Now, if you know nothing about Resident Evil and you're going into this completely blind, you don't know what to expect, you might find something to enjoy in this show. If you don't know the source material for most things, you can usually enjoy what's in front of you in some way, shape, or form. But as someone who knows the source material, I was very disappointed with this series. There's just nothing here to keep me entertained. I would much rather go back and play any of the video games before I watch this again. I feel like I wasted hours and hours of my life watching this show because even putting aside the source material for a moment, this show just isn't good in any way. Okay, so I've talked about the many problems I have, but here's just a few of the main ones. First of all, the transitions from the time periods between 2005, 2022, and 2036. It's not like the lighting is different or there's dates at the bottom of the screen, and you can tell the different time periods that they're jumping from because of the actors, but that's it. They don't feel any different, and, you know, someone like Wesker, looks the same through all the time periods. It can be a little bit messy. It can come across it's just poorly done, I guess is the best way to explain it. And then you have the characters like Billy, who is based off of Billie Eilish, who enters to a Billie Eilish song, or how they didn't even pick actresses who looked similar for the younger and older versions of characters. Then you've got all of the real world references. Google, Tesla, Elon Musk, SpaceX. I mean, there are a lot of references, and to me, it proves how bad the writers are. They completely rammed mentioning COVID in there. Then you've got these awful sisters. Even through an apocalypse, it plays like a family drama between sisters with the whole good versus bad sister storyline. The Wesker clones came off as silly, especially Bert, even though he was kind of funny considering how bad the show was. I just don't see how these outlets could praise this show with all of these problems. It's like they're ignoring that they exist because they want to be able to just simp for this show. The next review and article is from Decider. They said Resident Evil review, Netflix's zombie series is obscenely good. They said that the show isn't just one of the best additions to this storied franchise, it's far and away one of the most addicting, thrilling, and delightfully unpredictable shows of 2022. Clearly, they have not watched anything in 2022, and they also don't really know the amazing content that the games provide, or else they would look at the show and go, yeah, this is a disappointment. I don't know why they would claim that it's one of the best additions to the franchise, but it's one of the worst. Then you have GameSpot. GameSpot put up this review saying it is easily the best adaptation of the zombie franchise yet. And they, of course, made a tweet about this, and they have gotten roasted on this tweet. People sharing screenshots of the critic scores, of the audience scores, saying, you guys are serious? Like, are you being serious right now? Is this a joke? Normal humans hate it. Only woke agenda cultists love it. People saying things like, never forget. This is the problem with believing websites like GameSpot. They gave the Batman a 6. They gave the Mortal Kombat movie a 9. And they're also saying that this Resident Evil show is a 9. They have no clue what good and bad entertainment is. And they just throw random numbers at a screen, hoping that people will agree with them. Both IGN and GameSpot giving this mediocre show a good score. I think we can all agree that this is a paid review. And it does definitely come across as paid reviews because look at the titles of these two articles. They are almost the same. I mean, IGN's is Netflix's Resident Evil series is the strongest adaptation yet, and GameSpot's is easily the best adaptation of the zombie franchise yet. And their articles are very, very similar. This is why I do not trust, game journalists or entertainment critics. This is why I watch things for myself. I consume entertainment for myself, and I form my own opinions because there's no reason to trust these people. I don't think that this show is good. I don't think that a lot of people love it, clearly, and I do think that this audience score will probably drop a little bit more, as you can see by the user reviews that are going up 32 minutes ago, 35 minutes ago. There are many, many 1 stars and half stars. There are a few 5 stars here and there, which are clearly the reviews that are boosting up the ratings just a little bit, but the people who are loving it are saying it has good acting, it's exciting. I disagree. I think the acting was poor. It wasn't really that exciting of a show. The plot was messy. It just wasn't good. But a lot of the 1 stars and half stars agree. It was very predictable. The acting was bad. It's a CW inspired teen drama or a campy action show, the absolute worst. It's yet again another attempt at pushing political agendas and not caring about the source material or the fans. I am very sad that this show came out and it is a disaster. I love Resident Evil, and I would love a good Resident Evil show or movie at this point because they have tried it so many times, but nobody seems to be able to get it right. I don't know why it's so difficult for Hollywood to create Resident Evil, but I wish that they just give up at this point. Maybe try again in like 10 years or something, because They are just putting out bad content after bad content. And every time we hear a new Resident Evil show is coming out or a new Resident Evil movie is coming out, I can't help but instantly laugh and go, what are they going to fuck up this time? But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.